Sumerian Tablets 3 in Pursuit of Gold. If you're watching this video for the first time, I recommend checking out Sumerian Tablets 1 and 2 as well. Now, where were we? I have found the gold necessary for salvation. Now, Nibiru's fate is in my hands. Listen to my demands and heed my words. When this message reached King Anu, both he and the royal advisors were shocked. Whispers filled the palace. Didn't Allelu die? How can he live on another world? Some claimed that Allelu was lying and had never left Nibiru, but the message clearly hadn't come from Nibiru. It was beyond the hammered bracelet. Once the truth was revealed, Anu sent this message to Allelu. We received your message. I'm glad you're alive, and I hold no grudge against you. If you've truly found the gold that will save Nibiru, then allow Nibiru to be saved. When this message reached Allelu, he happily responded, if I'm to save Nibiru, you must recognize the supremacy of my lineage. The council and princes must gather, and I must be proclaimed king. The advisors were astonished by Allelu's demands. How could they possibly dethrone King Anu? The existence of gold hadn't even been proven. Eventually, they decided to consult the elder sage. The sage said, yes, in his youth, Allelu deeply studied these matters. If he passed the hammered bracelet, then he has indeed reached Earth. At this point, Anu's son, Ea, known for his wisdom, spoke up. Let me be the one to resolve this conflict and unite our people. Allow me to go to Earth and examine Allelu's evidence. Ea's proposal was accepted, and preparations began. Allelu was informed that Ea would come to examine the gold, and Allelu agreed, saying Ea must extract the gold from the waters and save Nibiru. The spacecrafts were prepared, but the process took 3,600 Nibiru years. Finally, Ea and 50 heroes set off. Anu bid farewell to Ea, wishing him success. Ea also said goodbye to his family and boarded the spacecraft. Anzu was seated in the command chair, as Anzu, meaning knower of the skies, had been specially chosen for this mission. They were rapidly advancing toward an army of colossal rocks spinning in their own orbit. Each rock seemed like stones flung from a slingshot, trying to knock the spaceship off course. At Ea's command, water was launched with the strength of 1,000 heroes. The massive rocks began to move, one by one, clearing a path for the spaceship. Finally, a completely clear passage was formed, and the spaceship passed through the obstacle known as the hammered bracelet without any damage. As the cheers of joy from the heroes echoed inside the ship, their excitement doubled when the sun appeared on the horizon. But just then, Anzu issued a warning. We used too much water to pass through the hammered bracelet. We don't have enough left to feed the ship's firestones for the remainder of the journey. The joy was quickly replaced by concern. Soon after, Mars known as Lamu appeared ahead. Ea, knowing Mars had water, asked Anzu, can you land the ship on Mars? Anzu confidently responded, I can land anywhere I need to, steering the spacecraft toward Lamu. After a flyby, Anzu reported, the planet's gravity is weak, so landing won't be difficult. Lamu was incredibly colorful, an ice cap like a white hat and shoes, with red lakes and rivers sparkling in the middle. Anzu expertly slowed the ship and made a gentle landing near a lake. Ea and Anzu donned their eagle helmets and stepped outside. Ea commanded, we must not waste any time. The heroes extended a water extractor into the lake and refilled their tanks. Meanwhile, the ship system was analyzing the planet. The water was drinkable, but the atmosphere was unsuitable for breathing. All the data was recorded in the ship's log. After refilling the water supply, the ship took off again, bidding farewell to Mars. Ahead, Earth and its moon appeared. Anzu, seated in the commander's chair, was silent, as was Ea. Earth would either be their salvation or their demise. Ea broke the silence. We need to slow the ship down. If not, we'll burn up in Earth's thick atmosphere. Let's circle the moon a few times to reduce our speed. Anzu orbited the moon several times to decelerate the spacecraft, and then they entered Earth's orbit. They had begun their descent. 2/3 of Earth was covered in snow. The middle was a dark color. The ocean started coming into view. At the same time, the signals sent by Alalu were being scanned. But when Ea realized Alalu had landed in the reeds, he knew they couldn't land there. Ea shouted to Anzu, "Land in the water." At the last moment, Anzu steered the ship toward the ocean, making a careful landing on the water's surface. The spaceship floated like a boat. The message system activated, delivering Alalu's message, "Welcome to Earth." The ship began moving across the ocean. To the right, mountains rose into the sky. To the left, brown hills appeared. Finally, when land emerged, Ea ordered his heroes, "Put on your fish suits and eagle helmets. Prepare yourselves." The ship came to a halt, and the doors opened. The heroes descended into the area known as the swamp. Alalu's messages kept coming, "Hurry up." Through the reeds, they spotted Alalu's ship gleaming under the sunlight. The heroes rushed toward it. Ea, impatient, left the ship and began running through the reeds, reaching solid ground. He rose and continued walking, surrounded by green fields. In the distance, he could see Alalu. Alalu embraced Ea tightly, saying, "Welcome to another planet." The heroes, meanwhile, made their way through the reeds and began securing the ship to the shore with ropes. Finally, Anzu also disembarked and bowed respectfully before Alalu. The gathered heroes set up camp under Ea's command. Ea then instructed Anzu, "Inform King Anu of our successful landing." As the sky turned red, Alalu calmed the heroes, saying, "This is just the sunset. One day has ended on Earth." The heroes lay down to rest, but they waited uneasily through the short night. When the sun rose again, the heroes cheerfully patted each other on the back. Ea announced his new plans, beginning the task of separating the waters. This event was also reflected in the Torah, as the Torah significantly borrows from the Sumerian tablets. Now, let's set this aside and continue with our main story. After resting on the seventh day, the heroes returned to their tasks the next day and completed all their duties successfully. In this part of the tablets, the quest for gold begins, and the plans to save Nibiru are described as ultimately failing. The Earth, now called Eridu, had finally been given a name. After the camp was established in Eridu, the heroes were well fed, and Ea began the task of extracting gold from water. The spaceship's firestones were activated, triggering a massive mechanism. A water extraction device was extended from the ship and immersed in the waters of the reeds. The absorbed water was directed into a vessel made of crystals. This crystal vessel collected all the materials extracted from the water. Meanwhile, the device expelled the water from the ship to another location. During this process, metals began to accumulate in the crystal vessel. This was a clever success by Ea. For 6 days, they extracted water from the reeds, separated the metals, and discharged the remaining water. On the 7th day, they rested. While the heroes rested, Ea and Ayla began inspecting the metals inside the vessel. They found a large quantity of iron and copper, but the amount of gold was insufficient. For the next 6 days, they repeated the same process. The accumulated metals were checked again. In the end, not even a handful of gold was collected. Days passed, and Kimgu the moon waxed and waned. Ea named this celestial body the moon, and thus the concept of a month was created. Every 6 months, the sun brought a different season to Earth. Ea named these seasons summer and winter, and the combination of the two was called a year. Thus, a year had passed. Days, months, seasons, and years went by, but at the end of a year, the amount of gold collected was far below what was needed to be sent to Nibiru. Ea realized they hadn't been able to extract enough water from the reeds and decided the extraction device should be directed to the ocean. The spaceship's ropes were untied, and they moved toward the ocean. The crystal vessels were cleaned, and the water extractor was immersed in the ocean. As water was absorbed and expelled, they checked the metals collected in the vessels and finally found glittering gold. Ea sent a message to Nibiru reporting everything that had happened. King Anu was overjoyed by the news. At that time, Nibiru was approaching Earth. Anu was asking, Questions about the gold. Have you collected enough gold? EA suggested. Let one more cycle pass, and we'll double the amount of gold. Then we can send it to Nibiru. As the gold continued to be gathered, Eve felt a sense of unease. He built himself a celestial chamber, a reconnaissance ship, with Abgal, a guide, by his side. They began using this small celestial chamber. Every day, they ascended into the sky, exploring Earth and learning the secrets of the lands. They recorded their discoveries on crystals stored in Alalu's ship. One day, Alalu asked Ea and Abgal where the gold was and where the veins of gold on Tiamat Earth were located. However, they still had not found the gold veins. They flew over large mountains and valleys, exploring rivers, steppes, and forests. They used scanning beams to peer deep into the earth. Meanwhile, patience on Nibiru was running out. The question, can gold repair our atmosphere, was being asked more frequently. King Anu sent a message to Ea, ordering that all the gold be sent when Nibiru approached Earth. Ea instructed Anzu to repair Alalu's ship so it could return to Nibiru with the gold. Before 1 Shar 3,600 years was completed, Anzu worked with all his might, repairing the ship's propulsion system and organizing the crystal tablets. However, at some point, Anzu discovered that the ship's dreadful weapons were missing. Furious, he asked Ea about them. Ea explained why he had hidden the weapons. These weapons are never to be used, neither in the skies nor on the harsh lands. That's why I hid them. Anzu warned that without these weapons, passing through the hammered bracelet would be dangerous. Alalu, the ruler of Eridu, agreed with Anzu, but he also accepted Ea's decision, which had been approved by the Nibiru Council. Finally, in a bold move, Abgal volunteered to pilot the ship and take the gold to Nibiru. Anzu would remain on Earth. The gold was loaded onto the ship, and Ea handed Abgal a tablet of destiny, telling him it would guide him. The fire stones were stirred, and with a mighty roar, the ship took off. Abgal ascended into the heavens, and a great anticipation built on Nibiru. The fourth tablet will be released soon. Please subscribe to the channel for more. With love.